Hey everybody, it's Dandin Mindfire of the Bristol Bane server, and today we're going to be talking about Enchanter tanking and the stats and buffs needed to acquire such strategy. So first things first, let's jump into the buffs and what we're going to need to stay alive. So first we need our Shield of Praetorius, otherwise known as the shield line. Pretty standard, just gives us hit points and armor class. Then we're going to need Ward of the Enticer. Ward of the Enticer gives you a 20% chance to mez anything that strikes you. Shield of Fate is a threshold buff. Any damage that hits you above 10,000 points of damage is going to have 75% of it reduced. So it'll reduce incoming hits when they start getting larger. Legion of Lazarian is just a standard threshold spell damage and damage over time reduction, respectively. Then we have the most important buffs for this build, and the most important thing that you're going to have to monitor. You have your Polyreactive Rune, which is a rune combination with an AoE stun. So when this fades, it's going to proc an AoE stun, which is going to help us big time when we're tanking. Then we have Enticer's Rune. This is included with the Enticer's Unity, other Unity ranks of spells. Then we have our Legion of Abstraction, which is our Epic 2.0 rune. Then we have some standard Clarity, a potion, Veil of Mind Shadow, which is a class activated AA. Again, it's going to absorb a ton of incoming damage once these runes start to fade, I think up to 85%. Levitate, and a bunch of other fun stuff, including cleric buffs. So see, for this video, all I have active is a cleric merc, but that's not really going to help me kill things. So let's go into spells. We have Tash, our Polyrefractive rune, which of course is that stun rune, an AoE stun, Enticer's Unity, which casts both the Polyreactive rune and the other shield rune that goes with it, Polyreactive Assault, Mind Cleave, and Mind Scythe for my damage. Then I have a Dichotomic Reinforcement, I think is what it's called, but that's a new TBM spell. I'll get into that more in another video. Quick AoE Mez, Perilous Bafflement. A single target mez called Chaotic Befuddling. What this does is anytime that I mez a target with this, I get 2 charges of Twin Cast, so that my 2 nukes hit for twice as much damage. Then I have Adamantine Stare, which is basically a little circular kind of mez that I can throw on the ground and mez up to 6 targets around the ring. And then I have my Mana Reiteration Aura, otherwise known as a Floater Gem. So how does Enchanter tanking work in a nutshell? Well, for fighting basic mobs, it's going to kind of look like this. So, tash your target, and just start throwing nukes at them to gain some aggro. And you're just basically going to watch your buff bar. You can make audio triggers for when these runes fall off, but essentially, you're just basically watching to make sure that those runes don't fall off you. The big thing to make note of when you're thinking about runes is runes fade in the order that they are cast, which is why it's important for me to have Polyreactive Rune up first and foremost. I want that rune to fade first. As you can see, I'm proccing mezzes. I'm essentially doing a lot of tanking and absorbing a lot of damage, and also mitigating a lot with the use of various, mezzes. So there goes Poly Rune. So I miskeyed there, but I should be recasting that right about now. So this is kind of a heavily controlled scenario. It's not necessarily big time or major. So I'll gather up a couple of mobs to kind of show how this would work in much faster time. I'm probably going to have to gate out though, because I'm not really going to be able to kill the shit, I don't think. Essentially, just babysit your runes, apply your damage as needed, and kind of go with your DPS rotation. And you can see we can tank pretty decently. Now when fighting things that don't stun, or NPCs that don't want to stun very well, you're going to want to be babysitting your runes that much harder, because that stun is going to be essentially turning off damage for you to a degree. So let's grab up a couple of these and see what happens. I'm going to throw my rune up so that I don't get pushed around. I'm going to throw out some CC. And I'll put my DPS cooldowns on. So IOG, Improved Twin Cast, Calculated Insanity, and let's take this shit out. I'm going to pop my Dichloro because I've noticed an increase in damage. But basically, as you can see, all I need to do is watch my runes, make sure they don't fall off, and I'm free to do damage as needed. That mez is doing a lot of work for me because it's mezzing anything that strikes me for a period of time. It's a very short duration, but it's definitely doing the work. So I'm free to just essentially babysit my runes by recasting, you know, Unity when I need it in a hurry, Poly Rune if I have some time to spare, and I can quickly take this stuff out. Big thing to take note of is to stack your runes, pay attention to your buff bar, and watch your mana, because as you can see, even just a typical fight like this is consuming my mana pretty heavily. Those runes are very expensive mana-wise. It doesn't really matter which level you are, they're going to be your biggest mana dumps kind of going forward. So with that being said, guys, this is an instructional video on how to tank as an enchanter. I hope you enjoyed. As always, you can check us out at twitch.tv/DandinEQ. You can see me stream live and see how this kind of all goes along. I do what I can to interact with the chat, and hopefully we'll see you there. See you guys next time.